ultimately, this is why you don't want to mess with Jensen in the mid lane.
Yeah, the counter pick was not working out super well. They start pressuring solo, so of course ODDIE comes in to try and turn this one around, but C9 is always ready to defend Jensen. He gets that Shen ult to help bring him in, and you see the entire rest of C9 is collapsing in through the bot side, so just really heads up play out on them. It did work a little bit in game 2 attacking Jensen, but that was after they built a lead elsewhere. This time around, without any real pressure going down, if you instantly try and attack Jensen, C9 is ready to respond.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job, but I feel like playing around mid is something that you have to do eventually in the game. It just happens, right? It's the central part of the map, gets you everywhere else. So we're saying don't play around mid. You can't section off the most important part of the map and just try to get around it. It's so much harder to do. It takes more moves to get all the way around, takes more time. So going through mid is something that I think you eventually have to do.
Yeah, as a general game plan, think of C9's mid lane as a bunker, try and flank the bunker, don't go right towards it, but eventually you do need to bust that bunker up.
And one thing I really like is that we did see bot lane suffer in the previous matchup. We did see kind of Smoothie and Sneaky start to fall behind, but this time around they clearly came much more prepared for White Lotus and GENTHIX and maybe gave them the necessary respect. But honestly, Janna, a support we didn't expect to do anything. We heard the casters talking about it actually really helping win out on that lane.
Yeah, it's definitely a lane where the Lulu counter pick usually works out pretty well. Tristana has pressure. You think this is a lane that you should just basically have shoved in 24/7, and it didn't quite work out this time around. Maybe a little less comfort on abusing someone in lane with Tristana than you're used to seeing with the Varus pick, who has a little bit more bully potential.
Yeah, I feel like Smoothie played incredibly well this entire series, and the fact that they knew when to pick, you know, having the heal and barrier in the bottom lane, the barrier used very early on by Sneaky, so he didn't get this gigantic deficit, was able to just heal back up and not take a large chunk to his HP, was actually pretty heads-up play, even though the trades were something that I don't 100% agree with at the beginning of the game.
Well, with all this praise for Smoothie, I think it's no surprise that he will be our player of the series. Of course, coming in clutch, there were a lot of fantastic performances across the board for Cloud9, but Smoothie just felt like he was so consistently making his mark in this series.
He's a guy who has a lot of ups and downs. He started his career on TDK, had a long period of time where he was trying to figure out where exactly he was going to land in the league, spent some time on Liquid before finally getting his foot in the door at C9, and since then has just taken off to another level, and here finally picking up the first player of the series at Worlds for North America in 6 years.
Damn, that's my boy, though, because, like you said, the guy was auto-relegated on a team. Then he came back, Liquid benched him. Then he started having to fight for his spot against Bunny Fufu on Cloud9, earned it. People kind of had that criticism of, I feel like maybe Bunny was a little better, but you're seeing now, Smoothie, it pays off in spades. He's a large part of their shot calling, he's a large part of the playmaking, and he even has a large part of the disengage and how they reassess fights. We think of the redemption to reset after Jensen got caught. He covers a lot of his team's mistakes, and it allows them to keep pushing forward with their plan.
Overall, has to be a performance he can be proud of, but we're going to send it over to Fish, who's standing by for an interview with the newest bot laner to promote to the group stage.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Sneaky, the AD carry from Cloud9 after their victory today. Congratulations that you'll be moving into the main stage, or the main group stage of World Championship. But before this match, you kind of had a sneaky comment about LYON, saying you're wishing them a flight home before the match even started. Besides game 2, it was relatively, you know, one-sided towards you guys. What did you think of LYON after that series?
They were okay. I mean, initially I wasn't really sure what to expect, because coming into Worlds, we had to play against a bunch of wildcards, and you know, they really are wildcards because they can just take a bunch of games off people. Like, you know, Albus Nox last year did really well. They went into quarters when it was completely unexpected. So yeah, we weren't underestimating them at all, and yeah, I hope the flight home is safe.
I'm glad that, I'm pretty sure they'll be glad to hear that as well. Going into the next stage of Worlds, so there's 2 groups you could be seeded into. It's either SKT, EDG, and AHQ, or G2, Royal, as well as Samsung. Which group do you want to go into, and which group do you not want to go into, and why?
I think I prefer EDG, SKT, AHQ. Honestly, like, I think EDG is probably able to be taken down. I'd say more so than, you know, like Samsung, G2, and RNG, because RNG has always come out strong during Worlds, and EDG has usually faltered, so I hope we can take the crown from them.
Well, let's see if you can do that as you move into the next stage of Worlds. And finally, since Cloud9 has been on the LCS, you've been to every single World Championship with them 5 times now, I believe. What's different this time, and what is it going to take for Cloud9 to go all the way?
Well, we do have a lot of different teammates now. Well, obviously we have CONTRACTZ that's different for this year specifically. The rest of the members are the same. But yeah, it's been a long road. It's been pretty rocky. We had not the greatest split, and we ended up pretty decently at the end, and then we lost in playoffs. So now we're here in Gauntlet, from the Gauntlet, hoping to prove ourselves once again. I mean, it's just a different team atmosphere. Before, I think Mios was a lot of like the voice in the team, and I think I've kind of like taken over that role, and it's a little bit different dynamic. So yeah, I hope we can prove ourselves.
Well, hopefully you can do just that. Best of luck in the next stage of Worlds. We're going to go into a break. We'll be back with Hong Kong Attitude taking on Fnatic.